Hey there, horror world, welcome back to the channel. Today I am diving back into the twisted world of Hellraiser as we review the third installment in the franchise. Now, I have already done a review on the first two movies, which you can find on this channel, but today it is all about Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth. Released in 1992, this film takes us on a haunting ride filled with brand new horrors and familiar terrors. But with Hellraiser 2 being an absolutely amazing sequel to the original, does Hellraiser 3 continue that journey, or does it start to take a nosedive? Well, let's unravel the story and explore. In Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth, we follow protagonist Joey Summerskill, a young journalist played by Terry Farrell, who stumbles upon a terrifying world when she gets involved with the infamous Pinhead. Once again portrayed by the amazing Doug Bradley, the film kicks off with Joey witnessing a murder in a hospital, leading her to discover the chilling connection between the victim and the Cenobites. As Joey dives deeper, she learns that Pinhead is now unleashed in the real world, transforming a nightclub called the Boiler Room into a hellish playground. Now, this film does blend horror with a bit of urban nightlife, and while I appreciate what they were trying to do in this entry, I have to say that it was not as good as the first two movies, but I will get onto, all of my reasons in just a moment. But let's quickly talk about the characters, because Terry Farrell does an incredible job portraying Joey, bringing depth to her fear and determination. On the other hand, Doug Bradley reprises his role as Pinhead. Of course he does. He is the god of Pinhead, and he elevates the film with his iconic performance. He perfectly balances charisma with chilling terror, and you definitely do get to see a lot more of Pinhead in this movie compared to the previous two, so that is a good thing. We also meet new characters like JP Monroe, played by Kevin Bernhard, who serves as this film's sleazy, creepy antagonist. His descent into madness is both quite entertaining and fits perfectly into the Hellraiser universe. And one of the things that I did like in this movie is that big pillar statue thing that Pinhead and the puzzle box and the other Cenobites, they are all trapped in there after what happened in the previous movie, and JP, he ends up buying this statue at the start of the movie and he puts it, in his shag pad, which is within this nightclub. And the scenes where Pinhead, he comes to life, his face is in the statue, he starts talking, I thought that was really great. I thought Pinhead looked really, really creepy and menacing in these scenes. It was all very creepy, and anyone who goes anywhere near the statue will be literally they will be fish hooked, the skin will be ripped off, and then they are devoured. I loved all of that. I thought that was brilliant. It stayed very true to the original, those scenes. But the second half of this movie is where it goes a little bit south for me. It does continue its exploration of themes like desire, loss, and the consequences of indulgence, but the film manages to weave these elements into its horror narrative effectively in certain places. However, I did feel that this movie deviates too far into the camp and the cheesy territory, which isn't usually a bad thing. I love a cheesy horror film, but for me, I just think that if none of the original cast are returning for the sequel and we're going to be focusing on new characters, then it might not be the best choice to move this film forward into the camp and cheesy territory. Just my opinion. I liked certain parts, I really did, but there were moments where I was just sitting there thinking to myself, this is stupid. I'm getting a bit bored now. Those effects were terrible, and I wasn't thinking any of these things in the previous two movies. And to be fair, the previous two movies are older than this one, and they have aged a lot better. I do feel that they were trying to add more of an entertaining element in this entry, and it can feel less serious compared to its predecessors, which might frustrate die-hard fans of the original. I am not a die-hard fan of Hellraiser, but even I was a little bit peed off. There's a scene where Pinhead goes on the rampage in the nightclub and he just starts killing everyone with like these flying CDs, and you know, it was very sort of Final Destination-y. I feel that this scene was meant to be the big scene to wow everyone, but it just didn't, at least it didn't for me. It really is a mixed bag. I mean, while it brings certain thrilling moments and deep dives into its characters, it also loses some of the bleak dread charm that made the first two films so compelling. Visually, this installment does ramp up the effects and it does wrap up the kill count, but it just didn't do it for me. I found this to be a very forgettable sequel, and you know, whereas the first two, they stuck with me for days. Even now, I can remember exactly what happened, but this one, it was a struggle. Throughout the film, Joey Summerskill learns more about the nature of the Cenobites and their leader, Pinhead. Now, as the story unfolds, Pinhead gains physical form, which I was just speaking about, and he wreaks havoc on the real world, particularly centered around that nightclub, which becomes a domain for his terror. And it's at this point of the movie that I was just talking about that this is where it goes boom. In the final act of the movie, and you know, the final few showdowns, Joey discovers that a piece of the infamous pillar from the original film contains the essence and power of Pinhead. Now, this pillar, which has transformed into a demonic artifact, plays a crucial role in the climax. And as the journey leads Joey to face off against Pinhead and his Cenobites, the stakes escalate. There is quite a tense confrontation where Joey confronts her own fears and resolves to put an end to the terror that Pinhead has unleashed. It gets really chaotic. She partners with a fellow survivor who helps her navigate all of the horror. I think one of the film's key moments involves Joey remembering her inability to save others earlier in the film, leading to a moment of both personal empowerment and sacrifice. Now, the ending wasn't too bad because during the intense showdown, Joey uses the power of the pillar against Pinhead, emphasizing that while he thrives on pain and suffering, she wields the power of resilience and love in a critical climax, and Joey essentially absorbs the power of Pinhead into herself, transforming her character arc from victim to a potent adversary. Now, this moment signifies her reclamation of strength and empowerment over her own fears. Also, in the end, Joey does manage to defeat Pinhead, but not without significant cost, because as the violence unfolds, the nightclub metaphorically transforms into a battleground between human spirits and dark forces. Ultimately, the battle leaves Pinhead back into his, demonic realm, but the film ends on an unsettling note, a hint that the cycle of pain and torment isn't entirely over just yet. Of course, this is just leaving the door open for the possibilities for more and more sequels, which of course there are many more sequels after this film. Now, while this final act and the final battle is all, very wow, full of explosions while Joey is running down the street in one scene and she's got electric water chasing her, I did find myself checking the clock every few minutes because I was losing interest in the final act. And I just don't know why. I can't put my finger on it, but I wanted the film just to end. And that is such a shame, guys, because as I said earlier, on the first half of this movie, I was very much invested. But as soon as Pinhead manages to get out of that statue and starts causing hell on earth, that's when it just completely fails for me. I mean, there may actually be some genuine fans of this entry, and that's cool. That's really cool. That is okay. But for me, it is a big fat nope. I will not be going back and rewatching this sequel at any given time if I can help it. So, playing devil's advocate here for a moment, where does this leave the Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth? Well, okay. It is a dynamic and visually striking film that both enriches and somewhat strays from the Hellraiser legacy. But if you are a fan of horror with a touch of the supernatural and urban exploration, then this will probably be a solid watch for you guys. But if you do prefer the dark psychological terror of the first two films, you're going to find this one a bit lacking. So, seeing as I enjoyed the first half of the movie but hated the second half, I will split the score down the middle and I will give this film a rating of 8.5 out of 10, which is a massive dip from the previous two movies that both received an 8.5 out of 10 from myself. But don't let my thoughts influence your decision on whether or not if you should watch this movie or not. It is worth watching because everyone is different. Everyone has different opinions. Everyone has different likes. But you know, go for it, guys. Give it a watch. But if you did enjoy my personal review on this movie, then please do not forget to like, comment and subscribe for more movie reviews and horror content. Let me know, guys, in the comments box below what you think of Hellraiser 3 and how you think it compares to the previous first two movies. Do your opinions differ to mine? If they do, let me know. Okay then, guys, well, thank you all for watching today's video. Until next time, keep it spooky.